Today, I want to address a subject that the fitness industry never addresses, a question that the fitness industry never tries to answer. And I always wondered why not. Because if you are over 60, this matters to you. And the question is this: can a man over 60 grow muscle? And I actually mean grow muscle. Not just maintain it, not even reverse it, but I mean grow muscle meaningfully, so that you actually see a significant growth in muscle over 60. What's the answer to that question? The fitness industry does not tend to answer this question, once again, because it's marketing led and it's focused on the younger people. Now, let's get into it. Firstly, I can tell you now, I will answer this question today, not using data, which is useful, or science, or studies, or synthesis of anecdotes. I will answer this question here, right now, using myself as a living proof. Now, let's get into the detail. Even though there are so many respectable studies in the industry, what's important is actually proving in real life. Let's take my case, for example. I will say to you that when people are over 60, people tell you that you've gone past it. You will never be able to grow muscle again. And even if you try to take some exercises, they prescribe very gentle, non-muscle stimulating exercises, such as chair exercises, gentle stretches. They tell you take it easy. They tell you be careful. They tell you just do morning stretches. They tell you, oh, watch it. You don't want to snap anything. You don't want to dislodge a disc. I kind of brush all that aside. 2 years ago, when I was 62 years of age, today I'm 64, I had had enough of that. I put aside everything they told me, and I instituted a very potent strength training program that today transformed my body from where it was 2 years ago to now. Now, let me just explain to you that when you hear the fitness industry say to you, oh, you're over 60, take it easy, don't break anything, do not buy it. The reason is there isn't a lot of demand, a lot of people from the over 60s who actually are coming together to create enough demand for the industry, and therefore the industry ignores it. A lot of the demand is coming from under 30s, and therefore you've been ignored. And I've said that in many of my videos, that people over 60 are actually being disposed of. They've been written off. Now, we've had enough. What I say is, do not accept it. Now, here is the protocol. I would say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you're over 60, you do have headwinds. Of course you do. If you're over 60s, one of the biggest headwinds, one of the biggest challenges you have to overcome is something called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is real. It tends to affect people who are older a lot more than people who are younger. In fact, it begins to hit you when you're from the age of 40. And by the time you reach age of 60, you'll be losing muscle as a minimum at the rate of 1% a year. And that's actually if you're not bedridden, and that's actually if you are exercising normally. Now, if you're not doing the right type of exercise, you're not getting the right dose, you're not getting the right protocol, that muscle loss, which is called sarcopenia, will be much higher than 1% a year. And you're heading for a slippery slope. Now, however, regardless of the onset of sarcopenia, this can be reversed. And it's very simple. Now, let me take you the general principles, what to do, and then later on, I'll bring you back to exactly what I did and how actually I came to evolve my own system called the Everprime system. That's in fact how this channel got born. So let's talk generically. This is a universal truth. If you want to fight muscle loss, if you want to fight sarcopenia, in fact, if you want to grow muscle, which is what I'm trying to assert, that you don't only fight sarcopenia, you don't only reverse it, you don't only maintain your muscles over 60, you can actually grow muscles like your younger self. The first thing you need to do, this will not be very strange, but there is a way to do it if you're over 60. That's why this channel exists. If you are over 60, do not accept the notion of not challenging your muscles. This is the single most sabotaging effect for people over 60. You are told to take it easy. You are told to do gentle stretches. You are told to do Pilates. You are told to do chair exercises. You are told to use stretch bands. Do not do that. Do exactly what you will need to do to challenge your muscles. And even though I say do not do too much intensity like people who are in their 30s, but you have to have the consistency. But at the same time, you must challenge your muscles. The muscles must know that there is a demand being placed on them. So you must increase the challenge on your muscles. Now, that includes all the standard principles applied to people over 60, of course. You must have progressive overload. You must make sure you train to failure. You must make sure you increase your sets progressively. You must do the things that means your muscles know that they're being challenged. Otherwise, they will not reverse their decline. They will not maintain, if you want them to maintain, or even less so, they will not grow. And my challenge here is to make sure I convince you that you can grow your muscles. Now, without showing you off, look at me. I am not bulky, but I managed to reverse my muscle decline 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was 84 kilograms, most of it fat. I had 23% body fat at 84 kilograms. Now, and then I had 36 inches waist circumference. Now, today, I reversed that 84 kilograms of body weight to 71 kilograms, and I changed my body fat content from 23% body fat to 16% body fat. In fact, heading now to 15. And I changed my waist circumference from 36 centimeters to 32 centimeters. I've done all that in 18 months. So this is not genetics. This is not, oh, maybe this is how you've always been. I've been there, so I know what I'm talking about. So in effect, the first thing you do, and I did all this by my number one principle, by refusing to accept what the industry says over 60 should be doing, which is the so-called take it easy, gentle exercise. I totally threw that out of the window, and I challenged my muscle. I transform myself. The next thing you should do is to eat protein. Now, I can tell you now, people who are over 60, when I see them eat, they eat like birds. What they do is they get a small portion, and they get maybe a piece of salmon, and they get a piece of vegetable, and they think that's healthy. Some people even mislabel it, or the vegetarian diet, or it's a pescatarian, or whatever they call it. The fact is, you must challenge your muscles in the training, but you also must feed it by eating enough protein. You must have at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You must have that as a minimum, because there is no point absolutely bringing in the builders if you do not have building materials. It's a pointless exercise. They will not be able to build. And in this case here, protein is your building material. So, and of course, training is your builders. The next thing I would say is you must rest. I think one of the most underrated things is sleep. Now, I'm not saying to just sleep hours and hours on end. What I'm saying to you is you must make sure after you do the resistance exercise, which is challenging your muscles to grow, you send the stimulus. After you've given it the material, which is the protein, you must then give it the environment. You must leave it alone to do the growth. And that only happens during sleep. And I'm talking about proper sleep, what we call REM sleep. So that's the critical third component. So you must have enough resistance training, not just simple chair exercises. Bugger that. We don't want that. We are over 60, I know, but we're not doing that. We are challenging ourselves. The next thing you do is eat enough protein. Just like you would do if you are in your 30s, as much as possible. Don't eat like a bird. Then the next thing you must do, you must rest to give the body the chance to grow. If you do this, as general principle, you'll be able to not only reverse muscle loss, reversing sarcopenia, you will not only be able to maintain if that's your objective, but in fact, I want you to more than maintain. I want you to grow your muscles. You'll be able to grow your muscles just like I did at the age of 64 today. I feel today in better shape than I was in my 30s. And I can tell you now, people do tell me when I go out and about in public, people tell me I look sometimes more than some 30-year-olds. And I'm not saying this to brag, because you too can do it, but only because I challenged the fitness industry that said I was 62 2 years ago, that I should just take it easy and sit down and make sure I don't break anything. So do not accept that. Finally, let me take you through what the ever-prime system, the system I evolved after going through this myself, what that system is. The reason why that system is uniquely crafted is because I'm over 60, I've done it on myself, and not only have I done it, I've helped other people do it. So you can use the same. I can tell you now, the training protocols that are geared for people who are 30 years of age, who are younger, does not necessarily suit you if you're over 60. Why? Because we've got a different biology. We've got a different chemistry. Okay? So you must apply the things that suit people over 60. That's why probably there's been the misleading guidance to people over 60, thinking that you have to take it easy. No, you don't have to, but what you have to do is you have to apply something that suits for people over 60, because we've got a different biology, we've got a different chemistry, we've got a different physics. So the protocol I have for over 60s, which is in my channel elsewhere, you can look at the video, but let me explain it here very simply, but you can watch it, a proper deep dive video on the channel, and I'll put a link at the end of this video. But the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, you have to what I call you hydrolyze and mineralize. Now, this is just to give your body fluid. When you are sleeping over 7, 8 hours, 6 hours, however long ever you sleep, you will be dehydrated. When you wake up, the first thing you do is you have to hydrate your system and take a bit of minerals. Now, I take creatine and vitamin D during the summer, during the winter, I should say, because I live in a cold climate. But whatever is it that you take a bit of minerals, whatever that is. If it's prescribed for you, make sure you take it. If you're prescribed for medication, take it. But drink a glass of water before you take any mineralization, so you give your body the fluids to work with. That's the first thing I do, and that takes under a minute. The next thing I do as a step 2, and these are all non-negotiables, by the way. The next thing I do is I immediately go to the floor and do body weight exercises. Now, what do I mean by that? I do anything between 50 to 100 push-ups, or 50 to 100 sit-ups, or 50 to 100 squats. Now, you notice I didn't say 60, 61, but my minimum is 50 and my maximum is 100. Any of those two. Now, or I could do a plank for 5 minutes. The point being that I challenge my body enough so I do not do less than 50, but I don't have to do 100. If on that day I don't feel up to it, or if I had a little bit of a niggly thing on my shoulders, then I'll just do up to 50, 51, 52, wherever I stop. I do challenge my body. That step 2 is also non-negotiable. Step 3, indoors, not at a gym, I've got 1 or 2 equipments. My best equipment is adjustable dumbbells, which allows me to increase the weight, and I do strength training using those. I can do a full body with that. I can do squats with them. I can do overhead presses with them. I can do back exercises with them. And I've got a bench, foldable bench at home again, which I use to do all sort of exercises. I can do bench press, everything using those dumbbells. So that's my third non-negotiable. So I've talked about the hydrolyze and mineralize. I've talked about the body weight exercise. The third thing now, strength training using the adjustable dumbbells and my bench. The final thing I do in terms of training, I do some very fast cardio, about 5 minutes on a stationary bike. I go full tilt, man, make sure my heart rate is to the highest. That allows my whole body to ignite for the whole day. Then, of course, during the day, I make sure I get something like 10,000 K steps. Now, mostly I do them in the mornings, or sometimes I do them in the evening if it's summertime. I ensure I get that. Or if I'm really hard pressed, I'm busy during the day, I do them in small chunks. But I still try and get anything no less than 7,500 steps during the day. All those steps combined, whether I go to a gym, I'm a member of a gym, which I do go to sometimes, mostly over the weekends. Whether I go to a gym or not, by just doing those steps, I'm absolutely kept in top condition. You notice it does not take me more than 15-20 minutes in the morning. That alone is sufficient. And the walks, the 10,000 K steps, I do them as part of listening to a podcast. I do them as part of taking calls. Sometimes I do them during work time when I'm actually talking to clients. So it's quite important that you realize this is not tasking. I do have membership of a gym. I go there, but not necessarily a requirement for you to do this. You can literally, if you're over 60 and you don't feel comfortable going into a gym, you can create what I call your minimalist home gym, exactly what I've just described, and you will get fit. You can even grow muscle from that. That's what I've done. So now, in summary, don't ever let the fitness industry or anyone else tell you that you're over 60, that you should just wither and die, that you should just take it easy, that you should just lie down, that you should just not do anything because you're afraid of breaking something. I know people who even are afraid of getting out of the bath because they are worried they could trip and fall. Now, I understand it. If you actually let yourself wither and you let yourself become weak and you fall down and you break a bone, that's almost the end of you if you're over 60. I'm sorry to have to put it that starkly, because in that scenario, you become bedridden. And you become bedridden, you do not have muscle in you. The small amount of muscle you have will absolutely all be decimated, and that's it. You'll never be the same again. For most people who break a bone, you will not last more than 12 to 24 months. Again, I'm sorry to have to put it that starkly, but this is in your hands. You can do what I've just suggested. You don't only grow muscles, you also strengthen your bones, and you wave bye-bye to sarcopenia. Now, if you're over 60, I challenge you to do this for 90 days. Now let's go.